Hi and welcome back. This is Miriam from Get Through and Be Through Overeating. Today I wanted to make a video for you that would help you post-binge. After we binge, we tend to have a lot of emotions and we tend to spiral out. And I really wanted to make a video for you with 5 steps, 5 things to have in mind the next time you're in that situation to help alleviate the havoc of a binge. So if you can relate to that, please stay tuned. So, post-binge, a lot of people feel the weight of their conscience. They're feeling shame, toxic shame. They're feeling bad about themselves. And you might recognize that in terms of negative self-talk. For instance, I'm so weak. Why can't I just not binge? Oh my God, now I binged, everything is ruined. You might feel trapped in your binge eating ways. And you might also feel very hopeless. So the first step to alleviating this negative self-talk and this bad conscience is just to realize, think about it. Our conscience is there to make us better people. It actually helps us in terms of living up to the moral and ethic standards that we hold dear. And that's a good thing. What's a bad thing is when the shame and the guilt simply isn't in correlation with the action that we made. Post-binge, you most likely feel like a very, very bad person. You feel this toxic shame rolling over you and you have no way of getting it out. Well, the next time you feel this, I suggest that you tap into reality. Reality is your #1 tool to overcome toxic shame, because toxic shame is not realistic. It doesn't have its feet and its grounds in realism. So just think about it for a moment. There's a whole world out there. Some of the people are very, very nice. Some of the people are very, very bad. There are people out there right now maiming other people. There are people out there killing other people. There are people out there molesting, cheating, stealing, hitting, robbing, doing all these despicable things, despicable acts, doing all these things that would allow this toxic shame to have a foot in reality. But you're not one of them. Your transgression towards yourself and towards your moral and ethic code is eating too much. Eating too much, too fast, in a manner that made you feel a huge loss of control. And that is frightening, but that is not bad. Overeating and binging does not make you a bad person. So the next time you feel this toxic shame post-binge, try and tap into realism. Is this feeling actually in place? Do you really need to give it that much power? Is it true? Is your toxic shame true? Is it really true that you're such a bad person for eating too much cake? So, tool #1, tap into realism. #2 is realizing and integrating that your binges and your overeating are a coping strategy. If you had any other coping strategy, you'd most likely use that, but you don't. You have this. Instead of beating yourself up for using your coping strategy, realize that you're doing your best. You're doing your best in order to meet your core needs, and that's a good thing. So there's not something wrong with you. There might be something wrong with your means, with your tools, with your way, but that can be fixed. And the way to fix it is to get to the root cause, understand what you need to learn, and learn that. Focus on learning that. You can't shout your way to wisdom. You can't anger your way to wisdom. So #2 is realize that you're doing the best you can. #3 is self-care and courage. Post-binge, most likely you just want to hide from the world. And you can do that for a while. But when you've done that and when you've alleviated the worst part of post-binge, you need to get out there. You need to put on your shoes and get out there. Because you need to realize that even though you feel horrific, your binge did not break the world. I know that sounds maybe strange for me to say it that way, but a lot of people post binge, their toxic shame is so huge, is so immense that they actually feel as if their binge as this huge ordeal, and they feel rotten to the core. Now, what's important with going out and facing the world is that there is evidence out there that the world is not ended and people don't hate you. They don't even know that you binged. So you can just go about your day. Nothing has changed. You need to realize that your binge was actually not that important. As people, we tend to create proof of truth. That means we have an internal truth, and then we go out and we find proof corresponding to that inner truth. For instance, if you have a day where you feel you look very ugly, and then you go outside, and when people look at you, because people will look at you, people look all the time, and you look at people, that's just normal behavior. So, but when you feel like you look very ugly, then you'll go outside, and when people look at you, you'll take that as proof of you, yeah, they think I'm ugly. They totally agree with me. I can see that in their scowl, or I can see it in the way they look, or oh my God, I think they're thinking, I'm convinced they're thinking that that girl needs to bathe, or that girl needs to lose some pounds, or oh my God, I'm so convinced that they're thinking bad thoughts about me. But in truth, we don't really know what's going on in other people's minds. So we might as well go out on the street and think, everybody that looks at me thinks I'm gorgeous. That is as true as going out thinking everybody that looks at me thinks I look ugly and disgusting and they don't want to talk to me. So by going out post binge, you actually get you get an opportunity to look for proof that that binge really wasn't that important, and that is very important proof. Number 4 is take responsibility. You are the custodian, the carer of your body, as you might have been if you were a mother or father, or maybe if you were babysitting a beloved child. Imagine that child not being loved simply for eating too much cake. Imagine that the child faced punishment for that act, for eating too much cake. It was belittled, shamed, wronged, and been told that you are not worthy of love when you eat too much cake. Would you find that to be fair? I find that personally to be horrific, and I hope you do too. Deeply saddening. So from now on, you'll commit to being a worthy and loving custodian of yourself and of your body. You'll commit to stop the abuse now. Only you have the power. Going forward, set up a rhythmic routine of self-care. The power lies both in the commitment and the routine. The routine can take over for you when you're tired or overwhelmed. 5 minutes of meditation, a walk to your favorite view, doing arts and crafts, giving yourself daily massages, taking a nap can all be examples of activities that can be included in your routine. Number 5 is very, very important. Number 5 is to activate your inner detective. I love that one. To activate your inner detective, you need to zoom in on your inner conversation. A lot of people are so connected, they identify so much with their thoughts that they don't even know that they have a choice. They don't even know that there is an inner dialogue. We have a choice to believe or not to believe our thoughts. We have a choice with practice of how much power we want to give individual thoughts. And we have a choice whether or not to believe certain thoughts. We also have the power to think new thoughts. Now, we can't decide whether or not a thought should be there, so don't go into battle. But try and look at the thought, try and look in the conversation, and ask yourself, what do I think of it? Is this true? Do I want it to be true? Is there another constructive thought that I could think instead? Like, for instance, post-binge, when the shame hits, it tells you that you're a bad person. And your inner dialogue, if you're able to tune into your inner dialogue after a binge, you will most likely hear a very negative conversation. Most likely there'll also be a vulnerable part to that conversation. So try and zoom in and try and hear what is being said, why is it being said, and is it true? What could I think instead in this situation? For instance, you could think, well, I'm really not a bad person. This is my coping strategy, and I'm doing the best that I can. I suggest you try it out and see where it brings you. So those are the 5 steps. Number 1, tapping into reality. Number 2, integrate and realize that this is your coping strategy and you're doing your best. 3, self-care and courage. Get out there and make new proof of truth. 4, take responsibility and commit to being a worthy and loving custodian to yourself and your body. And number 5, activate your inner detective and zoom in on your inner conversation. I hope that you found this video useful. I have a lot of very exciting things planned for this channel. I have a conversation with a PhD in obesity from Harvard. I am going to do more videos about the dynamics of overeating and the mental states behind overeating. I want to talk more about something called the control system versus the rebel. Emotional development as key to overcoming binge eating disorder and overeating. And I want to talk about how there's nothing wrong with you, but there might be something wrong with your approach. So a lot of interesting things. If you want to make sure not to miss out, you can press subscribe. If you found this video helpful or you have an idea for a video you'd like me to make, please leave a comment, leave a like. Thank you for your time and attention. I will see you soon. Bye.